Hello all, this is Joyce from Department of Commerce, Bishop Heber College. Today we are going to see what is supply according to GST. Early GST, VAT taxation system was used all over India. For VAT, transaction have been called as purchases tax and sales tax. After GST came into existence on July 2017, transaction have been named as supply. And also it is subdivided into inward supply and outward supply. Inward supply is the purchases made for business purpose, and outward supply is sales done for furtherance of business. This supply is detailed in section 7 according to GST under section 7. According to section 7 under section CGST, section 7 is defining us about supply. Section 7.1 is describing us what the supply includes, and section 7.2 describes what are the activities which is related to supply of services and supply of goods, and section 3 is telling us about what are the supply is excluded in GST. According to section 7.1 in supply, all the forms of supply of goods and services such as sales, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, all these things which is made for consideration and it is for course of furtherance of business, then we will call it as supply. Here we are having an example for this. Mr. A sold his pen to Mr. B and Mr. B gave a consideration. Here we will think that this is supply, but according to GST this is not at all a supply, because Mr. A sold his pen because it is very old and he wants to sell it. That's why he is selling it to Mr. B, and also Mr. B is giving consideration. Here Mr. A is selling that pen not for business purpose. He's just giving the pen to another person and he's getting the consideration. Here the furtherance of business is not at all fulfilled. So here the three conditions, out of three conditions, the third condition, furtherance of business, is not fulfilled. Hence this is not come under GST supply. The next section is 7.1b. So in according to section 7.1 there are 3 points. First point, they are telling us when there is a consideration and a furtherance of business, then we will call it as supply. According to section 1b, they are telling us import of services and for consideration, whether it is for personal or use or business use, we will call it as supply. Here is an example for you. You are getting an import of services and you are paying for consideration, and especially this is for your personal use, not for the business purpose. This is also called as supply according to GST, because when the services comes outside from India, then we will automatically consider it as GST, even though when you are using it for business purpose or for your personal use, it doesn't matter. But import of services for consideration with or without furtherance of business, we will call it as a supply. Next is section 7.1c. So third point, first point we saw that we should have consideration and for furtherance of business. Second point, they told us it should be for consideration, even though if it is not for business purpose. When you get the services, imported services out from India, we will call it as supply. That is the second point they are telling us. And third point, they are telling us all the activities which is specified in schedule 1, with even without consideration, we will call it as supply. Here in schedule 1 they are giving us from 4 points. In that 4 points, even though in that 4 points without consideration, we will call it as supply அப்படின்றத they are telling us in 7.1c. So schedule 1, what are the points we are having in schedule 1? The first point they are telling us permanent transfer or disposal of business asset. So when you're having one business asset and you are permanently transferring into another person, and you're getting input tax credit for business asset, then this supply is called as this will considered as a supply according to GST, even though you didn't get any kind of consideration. Say for example, you are Mr. A here. You are getting one mobile phone and you're using it for business purpose, and you applied for GST and you are getting input tax credit for this mobile. One charitable trust person came and asking you, you can give me any kind of kind to help us in trust. So you're giving money, but they telling us, no, we don't want money, we need some telephone so that we can contact our sponsors. So what you are doing, you're giving your mobile phone which is used for business purpose. That phone is given to the charitable trust and you are not getting any kind of consideration. Here GST is telling us this is also called as supply, even though you are giving it as a charitable kind, even though you are not giving consideration. This is called as supply because that asset, this mobile phone, is called as business asset and you are getting input tax credit out of that. So this is called as supply, even though when there is no consideration. The next point they are telling us is the supply of goods or services or both between related and person and distinct person. So when there is a transaction happened, whether it is goods or services, whatever it may be, when there is a transaction happened between related person and distinct person, then without consideration also we will call it as a supply. Here you will have one doubt, who is related person and who is distinct person. So distinct person is nothing but the person who's having business in two states. Here you are supposed to register your business in one state. If you are having another branch in another state, you are supposed to register there also. So you are having two business branches in two states, that is called as a, that then you are called as a distinct person. So this business and this business, the business in Kerala and business in Tamil Nadu, that is called as a distinct person. Here we are having an example. Mr. A, he is a distinct person. He is having a cake shop in Kerala and also in Tamil Nadu. In Kerala, there is a out of stock for cookies. So what Kerala people workshop called Tamil Nadu worker and telling him, I'm running out of cookies, can you just give me a load of 100 cookies. So Tamil Nadu worker is also giving the transacting the goods. Here from Tamil Nadu to Kerala it is transferring, and here there is no consideration because only one person is a owner here. So there is any kind of consideration is not happening there. Just the stock is transfer from Tamil Nadu to Kerala. Here also the GST is telling us this is supply because it is transferred from one state to another state, even though when there is no consideration we will call it as supply. And related person. So the related person, who is related person according to GST? The person who is having a relationship with the other office. Say for example, the officer or a director of one business is having a relationship with the other business, then both the business is called as a related person. Say for example, employer and employee, they are also related person. So when there is a transaction happen between employee and employer, then that is called as a then they are called as a supply, then they are called as a related person. And also the person who's having more than 25 votable shares for the another company, then it is a related person. Now we are going to see the third point of schedule 1, the supply of goods. So far we have seen the first one is when you're disposing or transferring your business asset, even though without consideration, we will call it as supply. Why? Because in business asset we will be you will be having input tax credit. So this is called as supply. Second point, in schedule 1 they are telling us about related person and a distinct person. So when there is a transaction happened between related person and a distinct person, even though without consideration, we will call it as a supply. And the third point, now what they are telling us is the supply of goods from the principal to agent. So here they are telling us when the transaction happened between the principal and agent, that is called as stock transfer. But here they are telling us, even though when there is no consideration, when the principal is giving goods to agent on to sell out the goods, this is also called as supply, because this is for furtherance of business. This transaction is happened for the furtherance of business, hence we are calling it as a supply. Here is an example for you. Here the company is transferring the stock of worth of rupees 1 lakh to agent, and he is selling that amount to the customers. This transaction, this stock transfer is also called as supply, even though when there is no consideration given by the agent to the company. The fourth point of Schedule 1 is imported services by the taxable person from a related person. So here first, in 1B what we saw is import of services. When we get services outward from India, when you get consideration, then we will call it as a supply. But here what they are telling us is import of services. When you are getting services out from India, and even though when there is no consideration, then it is also called as supply. But they are telling us only one important condition, that the service rendered by the outsider, that person should be related to you. So the related person who's rendering services from outside India, then even though when there is no consideration, we will call it as a supply. Here is an example for you. Okay, here the brother, he is living in US. Okay, he is an architect, and Mr. A is a businessman. Here Mr. A businessman living in India, and he is asking his brother to give me a structure architect for building a company, a office for me. So he is also giving the plan for him. So is this come under supply? No, this will not come under supply, because it is without consideration, it is fulfilling the condition. Import of service, it is fulfilling the condition. Furtherance of the business, it is fulfilling the condition, but not related person. Why we are telling it as a related person, not related person? Because the brother is not dependent on Mr. A. If the brother is related person and he is dependent on his brother Mr. A, then this transaction will call it as a supply, even though when there is no consideration. But here the brother is not related person, because he is not dependent on Mr. A, hence this is not called as a supply. The next example is Mr. Brother is giving a design for not for the business use, but for the personal use, like for building a house. He is giving a structure, he is giving his design. Will this cover a supply? This is also not supply, because he's have without consideration, he is giving his structure. Import of services, he is a related person, but the furtherance of business, this is the design is for his house, not for his company purpose or office purpose. So this will not come under supply. Next example is, here the brother is sending a design for his brother, and it is for the personal use, house for building a house, he is doing it, and Mr. A is giving the consideration worth of rupees 1 lakh. Whether this will come under supply? Yes, this will come under supply, but not comes under schedule 1. It will come under section 7 1B, because this is import of services with consideration, and even though with or without furtherance of business, we will call it as a supply. So here with this I am concluding that all the items which is included in supply according to CGST 2017. Thank you all.